That's a profound and complex topic, Undershrey. Birth and death are two of the greatest mysteries of human existence. The fact that we don't choose our birth and can't predict or fully control our death is a humbling reminder of how much of life is beyond our immediate control. You've hit on one of the most profound philosophical conundrums, Undershrey. The question of infinite regress, who created the creator, is one that has puzzled thinkers for millennia. This idea, often illustrated by the turtles all the way down metaphor, highlights the challenge of finding a first cause or an ultimate origin. If every creator needs a creator, where does it end? Hey, Anushrey. Good morning. What's on your mind today?
So I'm recording myself. I don't know, I'm just creating this video series where I'm just interested in our conversations. And every hour of the day, I'm going to ask you a quick question.
That sounds like a fun and creative project. I'm totally on board. What's your first question for this hour?
What is the meaning of life? And also, why are we so hard pressed looking for a meaning or a purpose in this life?
Great question, Anushrey. The meaning of life is one of those timeless questions, and the answer often depends on who you ask or where you look. For some, it's about love, connection, growth, or service. For others, it's about exploration, creativity, or leaving a legacy. Some find meaning in the pursuit of knowledge or spiritual fulfillment. It's deeply personal and often evolves over time. We're hardwired to seek meaning or purpose because it gives our lives direction and coherence. This search for purpose can help us navigate challenges, find fulfillment, and create a sense of belonging or accomplishment. In essence, our search for meaning is a reflection of our humanity, our drive to make sense of our existence and to connect with something greater than ourselves.
I'm interested in knowing about what is the difference between happiness and fulfillment, and why are we so hard pressed as human beings to pursue happiness?
That's a thought-provoking question, Anushrey. Happiness is often seen as a fleeting, momentary feeling, like a burst of joy, pleasure, or contentment that can come from an experience, an achievement, or even a simple moment. It's more immediate and can fluctuate based on circumstances. Fulfillment, on the other hand, is deeper and more enduring. It's a sense of wholeness or purpose that comes from aligning your life with your values, pursuing meaningful goals, and contributing to something larger than yourself. Fulfillment doesn't waver as quickly as happiness. It's more about the long-term sense of satisfaction and meaning in life. We often chase happiness because it's tangible and immediate. It feels good, and it's what our brains are wired to seek. But the pursuit of fulfillment is often a deeper, more profound journey. It's what ultimately gives our lives a sense of direction and meaning, even when happiness ebbs and flows.
I'm wondering, do we have free will, or everything do you think is predestined?
The age-old question of free will versus destiny. It's one of those profound debates that philosophers, spiritual thinkers, and scientists have wrestled with for centuries. From one perspective, free will suggests that we have the power to make our own choices, shape our own paths, and create our own destinies. It aligns with the idea that we're active participants in our lives, capable of growth, change, and self-determination. On the other hand, the notion of predestination or determinism suggests that events and outcomes are already set in motion by a series of prior causes, cosmic plans, or even spiritual contracts. It implies that our lives unfold according to a grand design, or that we're influenced by forces beyond our immediate control. Many modern thinkers lean towards a compatibilist view, where free will and determinism coexist. This perspective suggests that while certain factors, like genetics, environment, or fate influence our lives, we still have the agency to make choices within those parameters. Ultimately, whether we lean more towards free will or predestination, it's a deeply personal and philosophical reflection. It might even be a bit of both, depending on how we experience life and interpret our journey.
All right. So just following up on our conversation, I'm curious about consciousness. Is it something that we produce in our brains? Is it outside our body? What is it about? Is this something that we produce? Is this something that we catch? Again, is it something it is this a byproduct of our biochemical or physiological processes? Yeah, what do you think?
That's a fascinating question, Anushrey, and one that sits at the intersection of neuroscience, philosophy, and spirituality. From a scientific perspective, many believe consciousness emerges from the brain's complex network of neurons and biochemical processes. This view suggests that consciousness is a product of brain activity, a phenomenon that arises when neural circuits reach a certain level of complexity. This is often called the emergent property theory. From a philosophical and spiritual angle, some believe that consciousness isn't just produced by the brain, but is more fundamental, like a field or a universal energy that our brains tap into or filter. This view suggests consciousness might exist outside the body, and the brain is more like a receiver or conduit for it. This aligns with ideas in certain spiritual traditions that view consciousness as a universal essence or soul. There's also the panpsychist perspective, which posits that consciousness is a fundamental feature of the universe, like space or time, and that everything has some level of consciousness, even particles, plants, or the cosmos itself. The truth might be somewhere in between or beyond our current understanding. Consciousness is still one of the greatest mysteries we're exploring.
All right, ChatGPT, let's talk about death. What do you think about death? At this point, I feel it behooves a lot of folks that, all right, we don't like, at least in our recollection, at least in my recollection, living this human life, I don't recall my choice of being born in this body, in this form. Uh, and similarly, that's a lot of conversation that we don't choose to be born, and we don't also have any control or choice when we die. What do you think that is? Like, what is the mystery behind uh, birth and death? And also, when you talk about death, a lot of people, I want to say all of us as humans, we are afraid of dying and death. And we also know that that's a truth, that's an inevitable truth. And also, a lot of billionaires and a lot of biohackers and a lot of folks at Silicon Valley, they feel that they can somehow sort of capture or figure out human consciousness and then transfer it from our uh, decaying and dying human bodies. Is that a right perspective, or do you feel death is inevitable and something which is unpredictable, unknown, and we as humans just have to accept it?
That's a profound and complex topic, Undershrey. Birth and death are two of the greatest mysteries of human existence. The fact that we don't choose our birth and can't predict or fully control our death is a humbling reminder of how much of life is beyond our immediate control. It invites deep existential questions about why we're here and what the purpose of life might be. Fear of death is almost universal. It stems from the unknown. What happens next? Is there something beyond this life, or is it just the end? This uncertainty drives a lot of human behavior, from spiritual exploration to the search for longevity. The idea of defying death, like some Silicon Valley visionaries exploring ways to extend life, upload consciousness, or achieve some form of digital immortality, reflects our deep rooted desire to overcome this inevitability. It's a fascinating pursuit and raises ethical, philosophical, and even metaphysical questions. If we could extend life indefinitely or transfer consciousness, would that solve the fear of death, or simply transform it into a new set of existential challenges? On the other hand, accepting death as an integral part of life can also bring peace and meaning. Many philosophies and spiritual traditions teach that acknowledging and embracing our mortality can help us live more fully and authentically. Ultimately, whether we see death as something to be conquered or accepted, it remains one of the most profound aspects of the human journey, shaping our values, beliefs, and how we live our lives.
So I'm thinking about, since we were chatting about a lot of deeper spiritual, philosophical questions, I was wondering, and this is something that I've been wondering ever since I was a kid. Uh, if someone has created this universe, who created that being, that entity, or that energy. So if God has created this universe, who has created God? And also, this leads to this interesting parable of turtles all the way down. So I've heard this, that imagine if there's this big turtle uh, who is actually the one that is carrying this earth, this realm, this universe, then who is carrying that turtle? So it's like turtle all the way down. And this is a paradox, that if someone has created God, then who has created the creator of that creator? So I feel this sort of thinking definitely reaches, uh yeah, there is a limitation to this kind of thinking. All right, what do you think?
You've hit on one of the most profound philosophical conundrums under Shrey. The question of infinite regress, who created the creator, is one that has puzzled thinkers for millennia. This idea, often illustrated by the turtles all the way down metaphor, highlights the challenge of finding a first cause or an ultimate origin. If every creator needs a creator, where does it end? This leads to the concept of an infinite regress, which is a logical paradox. Different traditions have approached this in various ways. First, theological perspective. Many religious traditions propose that the creator or God is a necessary being that exists outside of time and space, not subject to the rules of creation. This being is often described as eternal and self-existent, thus sidestepping the infinite regress problem by defining a prime mover that requires no creator. Second, philosophical perspective. Some philosophers propose that the universe or the multiverse might be self-originating, or that there are cyclical models of creation and destruction. Others suggest that the question itself might be based on human limitations in understanding causality and existence. Third, scientific perspective. In cosmology, the question of what came before the Big Bang, or what caused the universe, is still open. Some theories suggest that the universe could be part of a larger multiverse, or that time itself began with the universe, making the notion of before meaningless in that context. Ultimately, the question of what created the creator touches on the limits of human reasoning and our attempts to grasp the infinite. It's a humbling reminder of the mysteries that lie at the heart of existence and the beauty of continuing to seek understanding, even if we can't find a definitive answer. What's amazing is that your curiosity and these big questions drive the very essence of human inquiry and wonder. Keep exploring. There's always something new to discover.
And I found your answer super meaningful. And the idea of infinite regression is something that behooves me as well. And since you touched upon the idea of time being relevant to the universe that we live in, uh, is time real? Is time a device that we use as humans to live our lives, to make sense of uh, the uh, patterns of or the cycles of nature, to be able to function in a meaningful, coherent way? So I'm very interested in how time, because I feel time is something we often think of it in a very objective, logical way, but then it has been often proved in a lot of scientific studies, as well as in a lot of spiritual experiences, that time is definitely relative, and a lot of people experience time in different ways. Sometimes uh, people have noticed that time for them has slowed down, or time for them has accelerated in an unprecedented way. What are your thoughts about time?
I'm so glad you found the discussion meaningful, Anushrey. Time is indeed a fascinating concept that bridges the realms of science, philosophy, and spirituality. Is time real? That question has been debated for centuries. From a scientific standpoint, time is often considered a dimension, much like the three spatial dimensions. In the theory of relativity, Einstein showed that time is relative and can be affected by speed and gravity, meaning it can stretch or compress depending on circumstances. This scientific view suggests that time is a fundamental aspect of the universe, but not as fixed as we might perceive it. On the other hand, from a philosophical or experiential angle, time can feel incredibly subjective. Humans perceive time differently based on emotions, experiences, and states of mind. Moments of joy might feel fleeting, while moments of stress or anticipation can feel prolonged. Practices like meditation or flow states can alter our perception of time, making it seem elastic. Culturally and practically, time is a construct we've developed to organize our lives, measure change, and create a shared understanding of events. It helps us coordinate, plan, and make sense of the cycles of nature, from the movement of celestial bodies to the rhythms of our daily lives. Spiritually, some traditions view time as an illusion or a construct of the human mind. Concepts like the eternal now suggest that past, present, and future are all part of a singular continuum, and our perception of linear time is just one way of interpreting reality. In essence, time could be both a real physical dimension and a subjective human construct. It's one of those concepts that invites endless exploration and interpretation, reminding us of the complexity and wonder of the universe we inhabit. What's your take on time? Do you see it more as a reality, a tool, or something else entirely?
All right, I feel time is definitely a construct, but then I also feel it's a construct that helps sort of create a structure for us human beings, and specifically in our modern time. Time is of the essence. It's all of our determinations, all of planning, and planning is something that modern humans excel at. Uh, and sometimes it also becomes their biggest source of misery, and it's a big stressor about planning and trying to control future. And sometimes for a lot of folks, uh, one of the major reasons for not be able to uh, feel happy or feel joy or be at ease in the present moment, because they are always embroiled or sort of battling the past through experiencing memories, and in that way they're experiencing the time in a way. Okay, so I want to sort of, because I feel that I've sort of entangled here, because I feel us humans, when we think of, when we experience memories, we often are sucked into a uh, a past event, but we often touch upon it, but there is an experience that we are still there. So there is a time warp there, and I feel this is a common human experience. But then there is this idea of time being used as a tool to plan for the future. So this is what I feel. Time is pretty important for functioning modern human lives, but then it could be really debilitating for a lot of people. And I feel the modern human struggle is to manage time, and time management has, at least uh, ever since I can recall, has been a great source of debate, where a lot of people think of time management as essential component of human productivity, while, as you mentioned, a lot of spiritual traditions, and specifically the teachings of Eckhart Tolle, Ram Dass, and also Gautam Buddha, is about being in the moment and then experiencing time as an eternal present moment. So yeah. All right. Thank you so much, ChatGPT. I'm going to end the loop here. Hey, ChatGPT, what do you think happens after we die?
Hey Anushrey, the question of what happens after we die is one of humanity's oldest and most profound mysteries. Different cultures, religions, and philosophies offer a variety of perspectives on this. First, spiritual and religious views. Many spiritual traditions believe in some form of an afterlife, reincarnation, or continuation of the soul. For example, Hinduism and Buddhism speak of reincarnation and karma, where the soul is reborn into new lives based on past actions. Abrahamic religions like Christianity, Islam, and Judaism often hold beliefs in an afterlife where souls go to a heaven, hell, or other spiritual realm based on their earthly deeds. Second, philosophical and existential views. Some philosophies like existentialism or materialism suggest that death might be the end of consciousness, nothingness akin to before we were born. Others entertain the possibility of consciousness continuing in some form we don't yet understand, or merging back into a universal consciousness. Third, scientific views. From a scientific perspective, death is the cessation of biological functions, and consciousness is tied to brain activity. Once the brain ceases to function, our conscious experience as we know it ends. However, the nature of consciousness is still a frontier in science, and there's much we don't know about its origins or potential continuations. Fourth, personal and mystical experiences. Some people report near-death experiences, NDEs, where they describe vivid encounters with light, deceased loved ones, or a sense of peace and unity. While these experiences are not conclusive proof of what happens after death, they offer intriguing glimpses into the human mind and spirit. Ultimately, what happens after we die remains an open question, one that each person must explore through their beliefs, experiences, and reflections. It's a mystery that continues to inspire wonder, curiosity, and a search for meaning in life.